Next up on the Ron Johnson show, we got Ukee Dozier. The original interview with Ukee was supposed to be just a lighthearted, fun conversation. Vikings, Gophers, roll the boat, PJ Fleck. So this interview was already scheduled before this happened because I'm not a shock jock. I'm not out there trying to find great stories when things happen. I mean, I know it's my job, but that's not really what I'm about to do. When I heard yesterday that Marion Barber had passed away, it was ironic, but honestly, man, I look at it as a God thing too, as far as connecting me and Ukee on a bigger topic. And as I bring Ukee Dozier in, Ukee was a freshman, so to tell a story like I always do about guys, I have Ryan Clark, I had a Spice Adams story. I got to tell my Ukee Dozier story. Ukee Dozier, as a freshman, comes into our facility, walks into the meeting room, and him and another guy on our team, I don't know if it was Jakari Wallace or who it was, we're talking about this girl, and they're both explaining what this girl looks like, and they're both saying how they met all these girls on campus. They're excited about it. Ukee ended up, and let me be real, Ukee ended up winning the girl's heart. He ended up winning the girl's heart. But as they're both explaining like all these different girls they met on campus, after about 4 minutes, we all looked at each other. We're like, I think y'all met the same girl. It was probably the best moment ever for seniors, seeing these freshmen like with their eyes wide open. Ukee was so young and, and even though he was a DB, somehow, I don't know if it was through other friends or what, me and Ukee became friends. We end up going to like parties together. We end up going to like these dance things together. Him, John Richmond. I don't know if it's because we all like to go out and have fun and like stay up late, work out early. Like that was our crew. And then Ukee Dozier and I stayed friends after the fact. Ukee's on a text group chat with a couple Gophers. And so when I bring Ukee in, Ukee, I want to say, man, like I know Marion was your boy. Like Marion came in with you as well. Y'all were here, went through it, 10-3 seasons, all the stuff. When you first heard the news, kind of the same way we all did, man. Like for me, I mean, I'm not gonna curse, but I was upset, man, because I lost my dad. And I know he was kind of isolated at times as well, and so me and Marion had a conversation about that, about being connected, and I told him what my dad was going through. And so when you heard that, man, like what was that, the first thing that went through your mind, kind of, or how are you doing?
It's obviously everybody kind of copes and grieves differently. So just like you say, Marion, we were very close. We were roommates together at University Village, room 305. We called it 305 right, because we both on the right side. Um, so it was just one of those things, man. When the news came out, obviously it was a shocker. I didn't think it was true at first. I'm like, you know what, maybe it's a rumor. Let me look at it and let me Google it. Let me figure out what's going on, right? So as I started Googling and I started to realize, it was I think it was one story at the time. The next thing I know, I refreshed. It was about three. Refreshed again, and I saw it all on Twitter. I was like, oh man, this is not good. This is not good. But before I confirmed it, I ended up calling John Richmond. Obviously, me, John, and Marion, we were roommates as well. Called John, like, John, did you hear the news, man? I'm like, I don't know if it's true or not, but this is what I'm hearing. First thing he asked, did you call Dom? No, I didn't call Dom. I'm not ready to call Dom. It was just one of those things. I'm like, I want to make sure, for one, it's confirmed. Secondly, I just don't know how to have that conversation with this brother at this point in time if it's new information that just came out. John got off the
Mm.
phone with me. He was like, I'm calling. So he called Don. And next thing I know, I got a text maybe 15 minutes later saying, yep, it's true. So at that point in time, I was like, oh man, like this really just happened. Like it really just happened. And we all know, I mean, it's kind of been, in the news and the tabloids, you kind of dealt with some things, but everybody deals with things, right? So it's
Mm.
always one of those situations where, when you hear something tragic of this nature, especially when it's somebody personal to you, it's a complete shock, and I've been through all kind of emotions at this point in time, but I think, this final emotion, that, not even gonna say final emotion, but this emotion that I'm in right now is more at peace, because I feel like he's at peace with where he's at right now. knowing, just things that he's dealt with. My heart kind of goes out to his family. His brothers. I know, Thomas is supposed to be getting married soon. From what my understanding, I think, and I don't know if it's true if he was supposed to be getting married on Marion's birthday. I wasn't sure, but I think this is the information that I've just recently heard. So my heart kind of goes out to the family because it's, I mean, that's their blood, that's their brother, their sons. So it's, like I say, it's a shocker, man.
Yeah, man, and I talked to Marion when he came back for I think Thomas was a senior maybe for a spring game, and same thing, man. I kind of went over there, and it took him a minute, and then he was like, "Oh man, what's up, Ron?" Blah blah, and so right away I called Spice on FaceTime because I know Marion and Spice, and man, Marion's face lit up talking to Spice, like just Bears conversations and jokes, and he loves Spice's on social media stuff, and and so when I saw him light up like that, I'm like, man, that's what being connected is about. Like we all, myself, you, Tony Patterson, Jared Ellerson, John Richmond, Antoine Burns is coming here this weekend. Like, I think women, man, and I've talked to a couple alumni. Like I talked to Mike or Coach Rump, Vikings new defensive line coach, and he and I both talked about that. He's an older guy, but just being connected, like because he asked me like, "How's this job for you?" And he meant like working for the Vikings and doing all the stuff I do for them. And I'm like, man, it keeps me in the game. Like it keeps me around. Like I was standing out there, and the day I had on Tuesday, definitely better than Wednesday, but the day I had on Tuesday, it reminded me of the connection. Like I'm just standing there, and Kevin O'Connell comes out and said, we have a quick conversation. Then Adam Thielen, comes in and kind of bumps me, and we have a conversation. Danielle Hunter and I kind of chat quick, and so when I think about that, one, alumni have to take advantage of that, man. Like, and my goal this year with the Gophers even is get more of us out there to just practice. Like, let's all go hang out at practice together. Women do such a great job of that. I feel like men, even guys trips. Like I've made so many excuses of why I don't take a guys trip with you guys.
Yeah, you do.
And I'm not gonna cry about it, but like, man, it's so hard because I know, like when you see players, man, like I know what that feels like to be isolated because I was isolated when I first got cut. And I came back to Minnesota. It was just me and my wife, and Tony Patterson was around every once in a while, but it was just us. And so she would be with her friends and I'd just be in the house. And man, by the grace of God, man, all you guys start coming back. You moved back. John Richmond moved back. Tony Patterson ended up dating my wife's friend, and so he stayed. Jared Ellerson came back. Aston Osai stayed. Mike Lehan stayed. And so it created like a group of friends, man, that like I wasn't by myself anymore. Like I wasn't just in Minnesota because I was too old to hang out with the college guys and I was too young to hang out with Greg Coleman, and so I just kind of was in like no man's land, and I know what that feels like, man. And losing my dad, like I just think about all the NFL players like of recent too. Like it's hard to know that, but like I agree with you, man. It's good to see, Marion's happy now. He's not questioning anything. He's not questioning, does anybody love him? He's not questioning, is anybody his friend? He knows the answers now, and it sucks that it had to be, this way, and we all had to deal with this, and, there's no way to do it. But Ukee, I want to ask you this question, man. Like for you, when you look at the connections, you're in the Cooper School District, so you're around guys. You coach with Tellus Redmond and Tony Patterson and all those guys. How has that been for you as a former player, having that connection with those guys?
It's been great. And it's funny because last year was actually kind of tough for me because when I took a new role within Robbinsdale School District as the executive director of finance. But with that, with this role, I had to step back from like being fully engaged in coaching. I was still around, but just take that step back from being fully engaged. So it was kind of tough because it was, for one, I was taking a step back from the kids, but another thing, I was also taking, a slight step back from just that coaching camaraderie that we kind of built, especially with guys who I've known for so long that I've built these relationships with, right? So you talk about the Tellus Redmond, you talk about Tony Patterson, you got Neil Allen there as well. Willie Howard obviously, kind of came along a little later after that. But just being able to be in that group, just to be around those guys and the fellowship all the time. What we do is all about community engagement. But when we're engaging in the community, we're engaging together as a team. And just building that whole brotherhood amongst everything. We always barbecue, like summertime right now. First thing I think about summertime, we're grilling, right? It's all about that fellowship and grilling, and Willie putting a pig on the grill and just doing his Willie Hanna thing. That's what I call it. I call it Willie Hanna because he's chefing it up. So just being able to have that connection again, you talk about that connection, man. Just knowing that that's there, that set foundation is there. If there's anything that you need, if you need to lean on anybody for any given moment, I know that I have that connection within that group, right? And it's the same thing with my group of guys. Throughout, from the University of Minnesota, you talk about our group text, right? We talk about the trips that we take. Even though you tend to not come along, but just having that, man, just having that outlet from life to just come back and just fellowship and just talk and re-engage with everybody, man. I think it's great, man. It's great to have that connection. It's great to have those conversations, man. And I know those one things that I value each and every day about just the friendships that I've built over the course of these years here in Minnesota.
Yeah, man, and I love the golf. So I mean, honestly, like I'm still probably 75% in, but this definitely made me realize like I gotta create memories like that with guys, because just talking to former players, talking to other players that's what guys miss, the locker room, like being around guys and being around each other.